Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Slovenia once again, and I'm really quite excited to try this beer. So we're going to return for my second review to Tektonik Kraft Pivovarna, or Pivovarna Tektonik, however you want to call them, and this one is their Nelson, which is a black IPA. It's called the India Black Ale, this one, and it comes in at 6% ABV, and I'm really interested to try this because the standard of IPAs that I've had from Slovenia so far have been really quite high actually. It seems to me that the Slovenians really enjoy a nice kind of juicy IPA, almost in the same kind of light I guess as some of these New Zealand ones that you can get, and this of course was another beer that was very kindly given to me by Davor Širet, who's supported the channel for quite a wee while. So once again, a huge thank you to Davor for making these Slovenian beer reviews possible. He actually drove 6 hours to Munich just to visit me and kind of have a beer with me and my cousin when we were up there, so that was pretty damn cool, and he gave me 3 more beers to review for you, and it is really cool to be able to review beers from a country where you're probably not going to be able to find them from, to be honest. Slovenia, of course, it's a very beautiful country, but it's mainly known for its wine rather than its beer, although they do produce some really nice hops there. But as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Thank you to Davor for making it possible, and I hope you guys enjoy this review. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Pivovarna Tektonik. This is the second time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Slovenian beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to every so often, of course. And please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the channel, and the support that you give it is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pivovarna Tektonik then. So this company was founded back in 2015 by Marko Jamnik, who is a professional photographer by trade, and also his friend Nico. So Marko has been homebrewing for around 30 years, and he also wrote a blog on the Slovenian craft beer scene, which is quite extensive. Davor was saying to me that it's a really quite good blog, but he also lived in Italy for a period of time and wrote about there as well. But he built much of his own brew kit and also went for a formal brewing education at Brewlab, which I believe is down in Sunderland in England. But Marco's a big fan of Belgian beers, and because he started as a home brewer, he's experimented with a huge variety of styles, and that's the main thing with this brewery, is they are constantly experimenting, and they do say that they have no plans to be the next big brewery, but they just want to keep experimenting and brewing good beer and just seeing how it goes. So that's the kind of philosophy that you want actually. And the last beer that I tried from these guys, which I believe was the Dizzy IPA Americana it was called, that was a really nice kind of juicy IPA, but this is the very first black IPA that I'm trying from Slovenia, so I think this one is going to be really interesting. So that's all you need to know about the brewery for just now. As always, I'll put the links and stuff in the description for you below, and you can have a little read about them some more if you do indeed want to do that, and you can check out all my other Slovenian beer reviews as well. So just to tell you a little bit about this beer quickly then before we open it up, as I mentioned, it's a 6% black IPA. It's hopped with Magnum Columbus, Styrian Aurora, and also Cascade, with a malt base of pale caramel and wheat malts. And I would guess it has some black malt in there as well, although they didn't mention that on the bottle, of course. But yeah, really nice looking beer. This one again, it's got this kind of almost oil painting kind of style of artwork on it. I do like that about these beers from Slovenia. They seem to have some really nice artwork, and I have to admit I do love the bottle caps that you get from these guys. These things here, they're really quite cool. But yeah, as I said, black IPA, my very first black IPA from Slovenia. The one thing that surprised me a little bit about this is when they've called it Nelson. I was surprised that they didn't have some Nelson Sauvin hop in this one. Maybe an early batch of it did, and they've just gone with that name. But Nelson Sauvin, of course, probably one of my favourite hops that you're going to find in the world actually. A really beautiful green grape New Zealand hop. But without further ado, let's get this guy out and get in with the tasting. So yeah, nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And you can smell some nice fruity character coming out of this beer already. You can smell a little bit of that kind of grapefruity and red fruity character that you'll get from the Cascade hop. This is going to be good. As you can see, the head has got quite excited on this one so far. But yeah, really nice looking beer that. So yeah, as you can see, if I hold this beer up to the light, and there's some really lovely fruity characters just coming off this one as you move it around, but this beer is a nice kind of dark chestnut maybe, yeah, dark chestnut kind of rosewood colour, this one. There's a solid 2 fingers or a finger and a half of a frothy beigey tan head to this one. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall it's a really quite nice beer. Quite nice looking beer, I have to say. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there's no real transparency to this one, although if you do hold it up to the light, you start to get a little bit of a kind of dark ruby edge to it. But yeah, it looks kind of exactly as you would expect from a black IPA. I think it's fair to say that the head on this one, it's a kind of creamy beige colour, I think, that's coming out of this. But yeah, it looks very, very nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. That's a really interesting aroma. There's a lot of hoppy character coming off this, so the first thing you're going to notice is there's quite a bit of a kind of red fruity ester coming out of the beer, and I think that's the Cascade and probably the Columbus as well. That can give you some really interesting red fruity characters. There's a wee bit of grapefruit in there, but it's really leaning towards these kind of juicy red fruits. It's a little bit of a kind of raisiny kind of plum thing. It's got that sharp kind of red fruity ester coming out of it. But you can smell some of these nice malty characters underneath. There's a little bit of a roasted black malt character. Some bready notes as well. You can smell a little bit of that wheaty sweetness from the wheat malts. Some brown sugars as well. I think there's some nice dark toasted brown sugar in there. You can smell a little bit of that. There's some brown bready character as well. You can smell some of these kind of roasted grainy notes, but the black malt backbone is giving this one a really nice backbone. It just gives it a really nice kind of linchpin, I guess I should say. But that's a lovely smelling beer. It's very unusual. I've not smelt a black IPA that's quite like this one, and it's the sharpness of the red fruits that's making it kind of unusual, and also the way that the malty characters are coming out. Because the roasted character on this, although it is quite dark and roasted, at the same time it's got a little bit of that chocolatey note to it. It's like a dark, almost well-fired chocolate character that's coming out of this beer. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. You can pick up a little bit of the earthiness from the hops, and you're going to get that from the Magnum and the Styrian Aurora. The Styrian Aurora is a kind of noble type hop, apparently. It's not one that you come across all that often, right enough, but it's supposed to be a nice kind of noble type hop with a little bit of a herbal kind of earthy note to it. But it smells really nice, this beer, especially when you're having a beer from Slovenia, which is a kind of unusual beer country, I guess you could say. Just take a little bit more time and enjoy it. But this one, to me, really leans towards the red kind of fruity characters. The malt base is really kind of quirky as well. So just take a little bit of time and enjoy that before you actually try the beer. So this one is the Nelson and India Black Ale from Kraft Pivovarna Tektonik, or Tektonik Kraft Pivovarna, however you want to say their name, but it should be a really nice beer. Once again, a huge thank you to Davor for giving me this beer when we were in Munich, and this is going to be my first black IPA from Slovenia. Na zdravje! That's really quite nice, actually. I have to say, they've done a nice job of that. Straight away you can see the Tektonik guys have done a really, really good job with this. And you know, the one thing I would say about the black IPA, it's quite an interesting style, and I have to admit, it's one of these ones I feel that normally it needs to be an imperial beer really to get the full feel of it. I really love the imperial black IPAs, such as the the black salts and body malts from Toyo. That's a beautiful, beautiful black IPA. And I just find that quite often some of the regular black IPAs, they just don't have the complexity that I think they need. But this one does. This one's got more than just that kind of roasted black malt backbone. A lot of them just have that, and then just nothing else in the malt base, but this one has enough complexity in the malt base to hold its own at that low ABV. Usually at the higher ABV, of course, you start to get a little bit more of these kind of boozy caramel flavours, and it gives the beer a bit more complexity. But this is one of the better lower ABV black IPAs that I've had before. But yeah, that's nice. The way that the roasted character on this comes out is very interesting as well, because it comes out towards the front of the palate, and then just behind, in the back part of your tongue, you can feel some of these brown sugars and a little bit of the a little bit of the nice kind of bready notes in there as well. And as you progress further into the aftertaste, some of these roasted black characteristics, they really start to push their way out, and you just get that typical roasted black malt backbone that you expect from these beers. And as I always say with these black IPA styles, sugar it around your palate and let your whole mouth adjust before you start kind of analysing the flavour too much. But this is really good. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I'd love to try this on tap actually and just see how it is. It's got quite a wet mouthfeel, and I always find that the black IPA is one. You need to get the carbonation right with this style so that you get a good balance, because sometimes the carbonation can take away from the roasted character of the beer a little bit and just make it a little bit kind of crisp, whereas I think these ones suit being a little bit smoother. But that's just me. As I always say, beer is subjective, but there's no doubt in my mind they've done a good job with this beer. So yeah, as I was saying with this one, it's just really interesting. So you can feel a little bit of that pale malty character just blanket in the middle of your tongue. On top of that, there's a wee bit of a brown bready note, and that just kind of sits on top of the pale malt, right in the middle of your palate. You can pick up some of these nice, sweet, brown sugar, caramelly type flavours. It's definitely a caramel that's coming out of this one for me. I'm getting a little bit of chocolate right in the middle of my palate as well, which is quite interesting. And as I was saying, as you progress further and further into the flavour of this one, that's when these black malts just start to push their way out. And the roasted black malts, they're kind of dampened down a little bit by the sweetness that the beer has. And this was what I was meaning with the malt base. If you're going to do a black IPA, it's not, I don't think it works if you just use a bit of pale malt and then some roasted black malt. I think you've got to balance the roasted black malt with other things like caramel and biscuit malt and things like that, and some chocolate malt as well, and they've done that with this beer. So this one for me is a really good black IPA because it has that complexity that I would want. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, in the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of that kind of earthiness. That'll be coming from the Magnum and from the Aurora hop, I would guess. But as you come further forward, you can feel some of that slightly spicy floral aromaticity, and that'll be coming out from the Columbus. I think the Columbus can give you this nice spicy floral aromaticity, but just in between the front corners of your palate and the back corners, you can feel there's a little bit of herbal character, and that was what I was hearing that the Aurora can give you. It's got this really interesting, slightly herbal, noble quality to it, which is really unusual. And as I say, you're not going to come across the Slovenian hops all that often, because they are good hop producers, but obviously it's a small country, so the volume of what they produce isn't all that big. So just pay attention to that a little bit more when you try Slovenian beers. But around the front curve of your palate, you've got this nice, slightly lemongrassy notes. These are where the kind of grassier, this is where the kind of grassier esters start to come out of the beer, and for me there's just a little bit of that lemongrassy note coming out of this one. Behind the front curve of the palate, of course, is that little oily bubble where these nice juicy fruity esters are coming out. For me, there is a little bit of a citrusy element to there that mixes with the lemongrassy flavours, but it's really quite a red fruity note that's coming out of this one. I do like how the fruit comes out in this beer, so for me it's got that kind of plummy, raisiny sharpness to it. I really like how the fruits are in this one. Yeah, that's a really nice beer. And I'm just saying, as my mouth adjusts to it a little bit more, you do start to get a little bit more of that roasted black malt, but like I was saying, the complexity of the malt base really helps sort that out. But some nice juicy fruity characters in there, a little bit of a sort of, as I was saying, plums and raisins, and as you progress further into the flavour, it becomes a little bit more of a kind of figgy and kind of candied red fruit ester as well. It reminds me of these kind of little heart-shaped sweets from the Haribo Star Mix, but it's just well balanced, this beer. It really is very nicely balanced. The little bit of roasty malt that comes out from the malt base in this one, it builds a good bridge between the slightly floral, kind of slightly spicy floral notes as well. There's just, the flavours in this one just blend together really quite well, and you do get a little bit of that roasty bitter kick that you expect from a black IPA in the aftertaste as well. So to sum it up, I have to say to Tektonik, they've done a great job with this again, and I'd love to try it on tap and just see how it comes across. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say it's mid-body, but it's on the lighter side of mid-body. The carbonation does have a degree of crispness to it. I would love to see it just a little bit smoother. That's absolutely nitpicking with it though, because it is a really nice beer. For me, it just needs to be a little bit smoother with the carbonation, because the mouthfeel that they had on the Dizzy was a really good, was really nice. So if they can replicate that mouthfeel in this beer, I think that would just give it a little bit more of an edge, just that nice juicy smoothness. But the overall mouthfeel to this one, it's got a little bit of crispness to it, but it's quite an oily mouthfeel, just with a little bit of wetness to it. You can feel there's a little bit of mineral in the water of this one, I think, and that I always like that. That reminds me of the Scottish beers and the Icelandic beers and stuff like that. You can feel there's good quality water going into this beer. The malt base has a good balance between the sweetness and the bitterness. Like I said, it starts off sweet and then it becomes a little bit more bitter. There's a little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one, but some smoothness as well. And then you've got that nice, quite slightly sharp, juicy red fruity ester coming out of the beer as well. But this one is all about how the flavours balance together, and it is. I think this is a good black IPA. So it is cool to see the Slovenians getting a little bit more adventurous with these styles as well. So I do hope that they try a New England IPA at some point soon. I think Tektonik are one of the ones that will be producing some nice New England IPAs at some point in the future. So hopefully I can try that whenever they get round to it. But the Nelson is certainly a good black IPA, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, I think that's a good way to sum up this review. So once again, thank you to Davor for giving me this beer. It's been really cool to try my first black IPA from Slovenia. I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. So until the next time, Slange just now, do make sure you check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below, and let me know what your favourite beers are from Pivovarna Tektonik as well. I do hope that I can return to them at some point in the future. But thank you once again for watching. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, and hopefully we'll catch you very soon with more Slovenian beer reviews. The Nelson India Black Ale from Pivovarna Tektonik over in Slovenia. Na zdravje.